Whenever art is successful enough, it seems inevitable that someone will accuse someone else of stealing it, especially if there is money involved. Famous cases abound, and one that has caught quite a bit of attention to this topic in the last few years is when Ed Sheeran was accused of stealing the melodic structure of another famous song. During the trial, he showed that this melodic structure that he was accused of stealing was not original at all. It had been used by some of the most famous musicians for the last century. Seamlessly, he was able to go from one song to another, almost playing the exact same music, but just changing the lyrics. In response to these cases, musician and lawyer Damien Riehl and computer scientist Noah Rubin created a program to provide a response to this epidemic of lawsuits. They created software that could generate every possible 8-note melody. This would require just over 2.5 days of processing time. Riehl points out in his TEDx talk that under the law, all that is needed legally to lay claim is to record this information tangibly to a device. Also, according to the TEDx talk, they've filed these melodies for public domain under copyright, with the intention to help protect future artists from being senselessly sued. Now, you may be curious why I'm telling you all this, and why I titled this video the way I did. This is because of the TEDx talk that I've previously mentioned that Riehl gave on this subject.
Some of the insights that we received as part of our work is that melodies to a computer are just numbers, because those melodies have existed since the beginning of time, and we're only just discovering them. So the melody, do, re, mi, re, do, to a computer is literally 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. So really the number 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 is just a number. It's just math that's been existing since the beginning of time. And under the copyright laws, numbers are facts. And under copyright law, facts either have thin copyright, almost no copyright, or no copyright at all. So maybe if these numbers have existed since the beginning of time, or we're just plucking them out, maybe melodies are just math, which is just facts, which maybe are not copyrightable. Maybe if somebody is suing over a melody alone, not lyrics, not recordings, but just the melody alone, maybe those cases go away. Maybe they get dismissed. The question is not, have I made this new song or not? Because no song is new. Noah and I have exhausted the data set. Noah and I have made all the music to be able to allow future songwriters to make all of their music.
I've talked about this story in another video. However, I didn't do a great job of explaining why this story bothers me just as much as it does. I admire the ingenuity of these two to go and do something about a problem they see in the world. However, I can't help but wonder if in the process they've made an argument that dissolves art entirely. Riehl in the TEDx talk makes it clear that he is not working on any part of the music except for the melodies. In some ways, it would be impossible to map certain types of art. For example, we don't have a way to clearly mark out the microtonalities that make up a particular performance. How could we perfectly map out a physical medium, such as paint on a canvas? However, why couldn't this argument expand to all parts of art that can be mapped out, including entire pieces? Digital visual art is one of these art forms. If we take an 8x8 pixel canvas and reduce our palette to 2 colors, black and white, the math is generally easy to understand. On every pixel, we have 2 choices, black or white. If you have any experience in computer science, you would know that we can represent any number by a series of 1s and 0s. Now imagine that we replace all the black pixels on this canvas with 1s and all the white pixels with 0. If we line up all the pixels in order, we get a number. This number can have any combination of 1s and 0s, and the sum total of the 1s and 0s in this number is always 64. Remember, this is the number of pixels in the entire image. This is basically how saving an image works on a computer. The computer takes an image and converts it into a format that may not make sense to a normal human. However, if we move things around correctly, we can generate the exact same image from this number. Now that we know that we can represent any picture on this canvas with a 64-bit integer, that is a number that is created by 64 1s and 0s, This means that there are 18 billion combinations. Though I have done no actual artistic work, I have accounted for all the possible art with these restrictions. I don't nearly have a server big enough to hold all these images, let alone a text document to hold every number that could possibly be represented by this integer. But that isn't the point. The point is that under Riehl's logic, I could just put these on a server. And as Riehl said, numbers are just facts. And as there are a limited number of possibilities, there will be obvious overlap. The issue is that as soon as we map anything to a limited number of possibilities, we can fall prey to this argument. I used a very small canvas and a limited palette to make this point. However, we can go further than this. If we imagine that technology significantly advances, then we could generate all the possible images, and not only for this small canvas and palette, but for an entire screen's resolution, and for as many colors that we can represent on it. If the technology allowed, it could be easy to envision a world in which, instead of pointlessly mining crypto, we could mine images. We could start at a random point in this large number set and just generate these immensely large numbers, or as Riehl calls them, facts. These numbers can then be mapped onto images. It is important to note that also a smaller canvas is just a subset of a larger one. Not to mention, there are plenty of mediums of art that use a digital representation. You see this as movie stills, album covers, advertisements, and if we take this far enough, fonts and digital signatures. So let's say I spend weeks on a self-portrait, and I finally finish it to find that someone on a server farm on the other side of the country has generated the exact same digital image through random chance. My face was perfectly recreated in the center of a bunch of static. You may rightfully say that all of this is basically impossible, and I definitely agree with you. However, it seems to make room for this sort of nonsense. A reductionist view of art as simply numbers. I know that Rubin and Riehl's motivations are admirable, but when you open a door for the good guys to take advantage of a system, you also leave a door open for malicious actors. As a result, art becomes a mechanism for money and not true creativity. Under admittedly an unlikely scenario, Riehl and Rubin have created the very situation that they were trying to avoid. A world where an artist is afraid to create, as they might stand on a landmine and be sued to oblivion for simple infringement. This attitude about art as just a replicable pattern is an easy justification when considering the legal system that has to manage these difficult problems. However, it's scary to see a couple of musicians fall into this lie. The lie being that a significant portion of art is just numbers. Art is so much more. I don't know if I have the words here to do it justice. So what is the solution to this real legal issue? Honestly, I think Ed Sheeran had it right. Show that melodies are common enough and that there's reasonable overlap. That is the only hope that I see. And the solution is not opening a loophole to allow for mining art. That's all I have to say here. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I really appreciate everyone who's been checking out this channel in the last little bit, and I hope to see you soon. Have a good one.